this video, we're going to look at the urinary system, which forms part of a larger excretory system, which has a few different organs that function in it, such as your skin, your lungs, your large intestines, and in this case, your kidneys. So the process of excretion is one of the most important things that takes place in your urinary system. So it is the removal of waste products from the body through several different organs. Now, looking at the basic structure of the urinary system, we're just going to break it down so you know what is where. So you've got two kidneys, 1, 2, and then coming into your urinary system, you've got an aorta coming through, and that will then become the renal artery. So this brings in oxygenated blood that has to be filtered by the kidneys. Going out, you've got the vena cava inferior, which will go to the heart to become oxygenated again, but this is deoxygenated blood that has been filtered by the kidneys. Going out of each of the kidneys, you've got the ureters, so there's one coming from each kidney, and they both extend to your bladder. Now, your bladder serves as a temporary storage space for the urine until you can find an appropriate area to relieve yourself, and then once you're ready, the urine will exit through the urethra. Now, looking at a cross-section through one of the kidneys, this is the macroscopic structure. So this is everything that you would be able to see with your naked eye, and in a next video we'll look at the microscopic structure, just because it is quite a lot of things to get through. Now, if we look at the general structure of a kidney, it is a bean-shaped organ. It's not this shape in other organisms. For example, horses' kidneys look completely different. They are more of a, I almost want to say like a heart shape. Cows' kidneys are different in the sense that they've got all of these little, they've got like lobules. So if you've ever had the privilege of holding a cow's kidney, it's made up of all of these different lobules. If you have not, maybe see if your local butcher has them in stock so you can have a look. If you want to cut open kidneys, or you've not done it in class yet, maybe your local butcher also stocks lamb or sheep kidneys. Those are the closest in shape to ours. And then once you cut through them, same cut like this, then you should be able to see all of these structures as they're all macroscopic. Now, what I always say is that when you have a diagram like this, use the diagram to study. From that, you'll be able to tell if you know your work or not. Draw it. It's not to say that you're going to have to draw a longitudinal section of the kidney in your exam, but if you can just do a basic drawing and you're able to label and put everything in where it needs to be, and then provide the functions of the different structures, for example, then you will have a great indication of your knowledge of the work. So let's get started on the outside. So firstly, we'll look at the renal capsule. So the renal capsule is this outer exterior layer. It gives it the kidney its shape. It also serves as protection for the kidney. The next layer over here, this white layer, is actually part of the renal capsule. Remember, we've cut through it. So this is generally just to show the thickness of that renal capsule. I know a lot of my learners in class were asking what this is. So that's just a cross section, and it's just part of the renal capsule. Next is the cortex, so it's the layer just below that. Now this would be a reddish brown layer, the cortex. So it extends all the way around, and then just below that would be the medulla. So the medulla is all of this, and it would be a lighter reddish brown color. Now, what are the functions of these two? Well, they both contain the nephrons. So the nephrons are both the structural and the functional units of the kidney. And like I said, we'll address that, the microscopic structure, in the next video, because they're very tiny. Now, when I say they are the structural units of the kidney, I'm saying that they make up majority of the structure of the kidney, because there's 1 million nephrons in each kidney, so they are everywhere. And then functional unit, they perform the function of the kidney. They are the ones that are filtering your blood, moving the filtrate through and getting it from the ureter to your bladder so that you can get rid of that waste. They are basically like the engine of the kidney. Without them, the kidney would not be able to function. Next, we'll look at the renal pyramids. So the pyramids are these triangular looking structures called the pyramid because of their shape. So you can see that they are made up of quite a few tubes or ducts. Now, once again, we'll look at them when we look at the microscopic structure of the kidney. But basically, all of these ducts together make up the renal pyramid. And then they then go into the next portion of the kidney, which is the renal calyx. So it's this area over here. Now the plural of calyx is calyces, so these are all the renal calyces. And what they then do is they just move the filtrate, so that's the blood that has been filtered and all of the waste products that have been taken out, they move them into the next section, which is known as the renal pelvis. Now, pelvis is, to me, on my body, is a very broad area. So that's how I remember that the renal pelvis is this area over here. Then the filtrate goes out and it exits the kidney through the ureter, and then it goes to the bladder. Now the next thing that I want to talk about is this word over here, the hilum. Now the hilum is an indentation in the kidney. So if you can see, this whole area is an indentation. And in this indentation, you will find the blood vessels, so the renal artery, renal vein coming in and out. You will also find the ureter exiting, and then also you will have nerve fibers, which you do not need to know yet, that are also coming in and out of this area. So the hilum is just the area where all of these structures go in and out. So next we'll look at a color version of the kidney. So this is the ShareCare U app. In the free version, you can look at the heart, which I've used in some previous videos on the grade 10 circulatory system subject material. But if you want, you can go have a look at that app. It's quite an interesting app to play around with and see what your insides look like. So as we can see, the kidney is a reddish brown color. You can see that bean shape. We can also see the hilum area where you've got the renal artery coming in, renal vein going out, as well as the ureter. Let's look at the internal structure of the kidney once again. So there we can see the renal pyramids. We also can see the cortex and then the medulla in between. Now these white areas that you see is actually fat. So your kidneys have some fat around it and inside it that acts as a shock absorber, and then also helps insulate the kidney. Now when we look at the pyramids, let's zoom in a bit. If you have that phobia of the holes, look away now. So these are the pyramids, just a different angle of them, and then also a cross section. If I add some circulation to this diagram, you will see that there's a vast network of blood capillaries in the kidney. So the kidney filters around 200 liters of blood a day. So that's quite a lot of blood, and it needs to filter this blood. Otherwise, your body is going to get full of these waste products, which can, well, in worst case scenario, kill you or make you very, very ill. So as the blood is coming in through the renal artery, it spreads out through these blood vessels and towards these pyramids. Actually goes towards the nephrons, which are not visible here. And yeah, that is how the process of filtration happens. Let's add some urine and see how the blood is being filtered. So you can see the urine being pulled, or the waste products being pulled out of the blood, goes through the pyramids into the renal pelvis, and from there it goes out the ureter. From the ureter, that urine, or that filtrate, which is now called urine, then moves towards your bladder. So this is what your bladder looks like. It's quite an odd looking thing. And now if we look at a cross section, you can see the urine starting to fill up. Let's add some more urine to that. Now these tubes that you see on the side are not tubes, but they are actually nerves. So how do you know, or what gives you the feeling of being pressed and having to go to the bathroom? So as the urine fills up, it stretches your bladder, because your bladder is almost like, think of a water balloon. As it's filling up, those nerves that are surrounding your bladder are getting stimulated as this bladder is expanding, and then those impulses get sent to your nervous system, your central nervous system, which is your brain and spinal cord, and that then tells you that you need to get to a toilet as soon as possible and to empty your bladder. Generally, you would most likely pee yourself before your bladder bursts. It's just a protective mechanism of your body. Just some circulation. The circulation around the bladder, you do not need to know this. This is just purely for interest's sake. And then you've got the urethra that will then exit. And that is this. That is the macroscopic structure of the urinary system and your kidney. In the next video, we'll look at the microscopic structure.
Remember to like and subscribe for any new videos that are posted.